Okay, here we go. Now what I've done, I know I leave out a little bit, but I can't really make a video that's so many hours long and show everything. So what I do is I hit the high spots. I've got these knives cleaned up and ground the way I want them. Serial numbers, initials on all 5 of these knives. So what I do now, after I stabilize my wood, is I've got it sanded, nice and cleaned up. It's not perfect, but that's okay, because I'll do all that when I get it assembled and do the final cleaning, sanding or polishing or whatnot. Right now they're flat, they're book matched, and I'm going to assign 5 sets of handles for these 5 knives. So I've got number 5 there. There's number 4 there. Number 3. Right there. Number 2 right there, and number 1. So really doesn't matter. They're supposed to be all the same, right? Well, yes and no. All the scales should be the same. All the knives should be the same. I used a master pattern for all the knives. But it's not exactly the same because I could grind a little here more than I did over there on this one, or vice versa. Yes, you can look at them and you can't tell the difference. But when you start putting in handle pins and doing finish work, you can tell the difference. So all I'm going to do now is I've got these 5 knives and those 5 sets of handle scales. I'm going to match them up. I'll pick up the first knife and I'll decide what set I want for that knife. So I'll look at them, make sure that they're nice and flat, no cracks, everything looks good. I love the wood, so I decided to make this for my first knife. There's so many of these that, there's going to be a lot of these knives that will look the same. Some of them won't look the same. Some of them will be different woods. But I'm going to do paddock on the first 5. It's a beautiful set of scales. I'm just looking at them and comparing them. Number 1's kind of special. I mean, it's the first one. So, yeah, you want the first knife going out to make a statement. So, and that doesn't take anything away from the second knife. It just means that it sets a precedence. It sets a goal for all the other knives to follow. So with that said, I believe I've got my number 1 set right here. They're beautiful, they're book matched, and they're going to be just fine. So there's number 1. So we'll come in on the inside, we'll open them up like a book, take a marker, and I'll kind of go number 1, left and right. Number 1. Now, that set is forever married with that knife. It's over. I'll pick up another set. I'll open the book up. Book matched. Beautiful wood. Make sure that's the side I want out, and it is not. So I'll flip it over. I'll open it up like a book. Left, right, number 2. number 2. It just helps me keep up with which is the left and which is the right. When you're looking at a knife with the blade down and the backbone up, I call that the left and that the right. Set number 2 in the books. Get another set. Ooh, that's nice. Open them up, check the book matching. Make sure that they're book matched. Always check the end grain to make sure it's going the same, excuse me, direction. Right there. Open them up like a book. Mark them number 3. Left and right. Move on to the next set. Number 4. Book matched. Open them up. Number 4. And I do this with all my knives, even if I'm just doing one knife. Right and left, just like that. And number 5 is not necessarily the least attractive. It's the one that I wasn't really sure about until now, which I like. And then I like that to be the outside. So we'll open it up and we'll go number 5. Left and right. Okay, there they are, all book matched and assigned to a knife, numbered. There's no way I can confuse them unless I cut some of that away, which I will. I'll continually remark them as I go. So now that I've got them like that, I'll set them up here and work on them in order. Everything now, from now on out, will be done in order. There's no more bungling stuff up, working on it in a group. Now it's about the individual knife. Okay. Now that I've got it, the left and the right, I will take and orient the handle scale on the knife to where I feel that I will utilize the most amount of wood. Like so. And then what I'll do, I'll get it like I want it. Back that puppy up a little bit. Check the stamps and everything. I'll lay it up there like that. Flush on the back, just a hair high. And I'll hold it like so. Then I'll grab a clamp. And I'll clamp it just like that. Okay. Now, I'll take a marker and I will trace this pattern out, okay? Just like so. Just like that. Now, while I got this knife like this, what I'll do, I'm using an 1/8 inch pin. If while I've got this clamped down, I will take it over to the mill or the drill press, and I will go ahead and drill them handle holes, okay? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go close to my center, and I will start right here, transfer a line, okay? And I will round it over, just like so. What that's going to do is give me a place as a reference to cut my handle top once I get it to where I want to cut it. We're only working on one scale at a time. Because when I get this scale done, I'll be able to lay it on this scale, clamp it together, and use this scale as a pattern for that scale. That way there's no getting your holes out of alignment. Everything is completely lined up. So let me drill these handle holes. Once I get the handle holes drilled out, we'll cut it over on the bandsaw, bring it back, and we'll lay it and clamp it to this one and mark this one. Okay, as you can see, I added a second clamp to that knife. Now, I've got an 1/8 inch drill bit chucked up in that machine. And we're just going to use the knife itself as a guide to drill the handle holes. So when I go to put the pins in that knife, there is no way that those holes will be off. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to crank that thing up and drill them 3 holes. I just wanted y'all to see this part of the process so you know how I do it. Other knife makers might do it the same way. They might do it a little different. There's one thing about knife makers and people that use machines to do this kind of work. They all do it just a little bit different. I do it how I was taught. And it so far it served me well. So we'll come in here and we'll line that hole up. Get it where we want it. And we'll drill the hole. Once I plug the machine up. There we go. There's one. That's one hole. And we'll roll it on down. Oh, somebody needs a little oil. That's all right. We'll line it up. We'll test it. And we'll drill the hole. just like so. Hole number 2. Line that hole up. Test it. I'll tell you what, we're on these holes today. There's number 3. All right, I'll get y'all back over at the bench. All right, we're back on the bench. Okay, y'all seen me drill these 3 holes in this handle material. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, now what we're gonna do, I've got the scale marked, the outline of the knife, the 3 holes are drilled. We're gonna take the knife off the blank, the scale, lay the knife back down. And we know that's the right-hand side because that was on the right-hand side of the knife. We'll take and remark it. That's number 1. Because when I cut this, I'm going to cut that R out of there. So we'll mark it right there, R, right-hand side. Now, that's going to be about right, yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and book match these bad boys. Lay them just as close to square and perfect as you can get them. Now we'll clamp them like so. Now what we'll do is we'll chuck them things back in that vise and we'll go ahead and drill the other 3 holes for this side. We'll have all 6 holes drilled in both scales. Then I can take them back over here, I can unclamp them, take them over at the bandsaw, and cut the first one out. Lay it on the second one, mark it, cut it out. Then I'll cut me 3 pins, which I know are going to fit this, plus the thickness of the knife, and a little bit extra for peening over. And I'll go ahead and stick them in there. The reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to go ahead and profile the end of this scale. Because once I get it on the knife, I won't be able to shape it. It'll be against the steel. So that's why I do that. So I go ahead and prep that end, clean it up, buff it, and when I put the scales on there, it's already cleaned up. It's ready to go. So I'll get it over and get these 3 holes drilled, and I'll get you back on here. Just wanted to explain what I'm doing. That way you'll know. Okay. Now that I've got all my handle holes drilled and all the knives, scales, all 10 scales, what I'll do now is go back and drill the thong hole. I just repeat the process, but this time I'll run a couple 1/8" bits upside down in this, so this doesn't move when I drill this thong hole. I'll drill it through the tang of the knife, and then I'll put the 2 slabs together and use this bottom slab as my guide. I could stack both slabs on top of each other and just drill the handle hole as it is and do both at the same time. I may do that and I may not. But I'll get back with you and I'll tell you which way worked out the best. Let me get you around there. There you go. Now you can see my 2 guide pins here, and then my 5/16 thong hole set up to drill. So let me get back here. Yep, I went ahead and stacked them both. Seemed to I could knock out 2 handle scales at one time. I think that's going to work out just fine. Put a piece of tape on the back of all your wooden holes. That keeps them from tearing out. keeps you from doing a lot of excess sanding in the end. So that's going to work. I'll get back with you when I get them done. Well, as you can see, I've got one side of these knives profiled and drilled out. The other side is drilled but not profiled. But that's okay. I've been working on these for a while today. And I believe I'm gonna put the two pieces of wood together and mark and cut out the other side and then call it a day. So appreciate y'all. I'll get back with you and we'll continue on.